Good evening. Am I audible? Is my voice audible?
Good evening, sir. Audible.
Is my screen visible? Please.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Visible. So I hope till yoga philosophy there is no doubt. We did Sankhya, we did yoga. I hope there is no doubt till yoga philosophy. Yes. So let us start therefore in today's class with Nyaya philosophy. Now we have already had one discussion in our last class about the basis of Nyaya philosophy. And in Nyaya, does metaphysics dominate or epistemology? Yes. Does metaphysics dominate in Nyaya or epistemology? Anybody? So if you see the screen, it is path of logic to liberation. And various pramanas are written: pratyaksh, upman or comparison, inference or anuman, verbal testimony or shabd. This is the path to truth. And you see that the bondage of chains is broken because of having the right knowledge of reality. And for right knowledge of reality, we should be knowing what right knowledge is. So in last class, we discussed about Nyaya and Vaisheshik as being complementary or allied systems. Can any one of you tell me what is the contribution of Nyaya in that and what is the contribution of Vaisheshik? Yes. The contribution of Nyaya and the contribution of Vaisheshik. Anybody? In this alliance of Nyaya and Vaisheshik, what does Nyaya contribute and what does Vaisheshik contribute? Amita, Shavya, Soumya, Mohan, anybody? Yes, Shavya.
So Vaisheshik talk about what reality is, and Nyaya talks about what is right knowledge.
Okay, Vaisheshik talks about what is the nature and number of reality. Once you know the nature and number of reality, what will happen? Once you have an idea of the nature and number of reality. Yes.
Path to liberation.
Through Vaisheshik, if you get the idea of what is the nature and number of reality, what will happen? Obviously, the purpose of all Indian schools is liberation. So if you have an idea about the number and nature of reality, you will be liberated. But to get the correct idea of reality or knowledge of reality, what should you know beforehand? Or rather, I should say, Nyaya epistemology is a precursor to the Vaisheshik metaphysics. So before you can know the nature and number of reality, Should you not know what right knowledge is? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So basically the Nyaya contribution is, Nyaya is discussing about what is right knowledge, and Vaisheshik is discussing about the nature and number of reality. Together, the right knowledge of reality will be called as liberation, which is the purpose of any Indian school. So Nyaya believe, like many other schools in Indian philosophy, that what is the root cause of bondage? If I ask you any school, whether it be Jainism, whether it be Buddhism, whether it be Sankhya, whether it be Yoga, what is the root cause of bondage?
Suffering.
Suffering. Suffering happens after bondage.
Worldly pleasures, Nyaya.
Which should be common in all the schools. Yes. Shave.
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Ignorance is the root cause of suffering in all schools. Ignorance is what? Right knowledge or wrong knowledge?
Wrong knowledge.
Wrong knowledge. So if bondage is due to wrong knowledge, liberation will be due to right knowledge. So just read point number 1 and point number 2. Amita, read point number 1 and point number 2.
Vaisheshik develops metaphysics and ontology, while Nyaya has researched on logic and epistemology. Both have similar view on bondage and liberation, that is, bondage due to ignorance and actions and liberations due to right knowledge of reality. Vaisheshik
So
take up
just a pause. Bondage is due to ignorance and actions, and liberation will be due to right knowledge. Okay. So bondage is due to wrong knowledge, liberation will be due to right knowledge. Yes, continue.
Vaisheshik take up exposition of reality, padartha, and Nyaya takes up exposition of knowledge of reality, that is, theory of knowledge.
So Nyaya is taking theory of knowledge or knowledge of reality, whereas the exposition of reality, its number and nature, is taken by Vaisheshik. So Vaisheshik is dealing with metaphysics. Nyaya is dealing with the tools for that metaphysics or the instruments for that metaphysics, that is epistemology. And any theory of knowledge consists of what parts? If I ask you what are the things in any theory of knowledge, what will be your answer? Any epistemology, what are the 5 questions? Yes. Anybody? You can read on the screen also and tell. But by now you should be telling that epistemology, what are the 5 things we broadly discuss? Gauri?
So I can read out the points which is written.
Sheve?
The different kinds of knowledge,
Okay.
sources of
First
knowledge.
question would be, first question before different kind of knowledge will be, what is knowledge? Right? पहले तो ये सवाल होगा ना कि नॉलेज क्या है, इट्स डेफिनेशन, राइट? देन सेकंड ऑब्वियसली विल बी different kinds of knowledge. Third question will be sources of knowledge. Yes, what else? Fourth question will be validity of knowledge. And here only in this context, Nyaya will be discussing what? Error. And final question, what is the relation between knower and knowable? So these 5 questions we will be answering in today's class. That what is knowledge according to Nyaya? What are the different kinds of knowledge according to Nyaya? What are the sources, or rather I should say right sources of knowledge? So knowledge is called prama and right source of knowledge is called pramana. So what are the right sources of knowledge? Then you should also check the validity of knowledge. For example, I taught you philosophy. That is one thing. You consider it verbal testimony that I have said that all questions will be coming from this notes. How do you check the validity of this? Yes, Shave. How would you check the validity of this?
Through the videos.
Through the videos. Which videos? What I am saying, whether it is correct or incorrect, how will you verify? I am saying
PYQs, sir.
Come again.
PYQs.
PYQs. PYQs, or you will be more interested in writing the main exam and then checking?
Writing the main exam and checking.
So that is called as yatharth or successful activity. I give you knowledge, you test it. So that is, if on testing the knowledge, it is leading to successful knowledge, it is called yatharth. So Nyaya give successful activity as the test of truth. And this successful activity, will it be intrinsic or extrinsic? By intrinsic, I mean, will it originate with the knowledge or will it be a later experiment? Knowledge is knowledge. It will later be applied and checked whether it was right knowledge or wrong knowledge. So whether it will be intrinsic or extrinsic. बताइए. Yes. Shabir. Amita. It will be extrinsic, right? What you know inside does not matter. What UPSC will be giving you on your question come answer booklet, that will be your achievement, right? Yes.
Yes, sir.
So therefore they ascribe partah pramanyavad and partah apramanyavad. This discussion we will be doing in detail when we do Mimamsa philosophy, because Mimamsa will be saying that knowledge originates with its validity. Swatah pramanyavad, swatah apramanyavad. Something is, or rather I should say swatah pramanyavad and partah apramanyavad is Mimamsa view. They say that the validity of knowledge originates from with the knowledge itself. अब जैसे ये मैं आपको पढ़ा रहा हूं, अगर इसी की जगह आपको आदि शंकराचार्य पढ़ाएं, तो would you require to test its validity? Yes.
No, sir.
No. So that is स्वतः प्रमाण्यवाद. न्याय लेकिन बहुत ही प्रैग्मेटिक है. वो कहते हैं कि भाई हम चेक करेंगे कि आप जो नॉलेज दे रहे हैं उससे वो चीज हो रही है कि नहीं हो रही. Okay. So that is validity of knowledge. And finally, what is the relation between knower and knowable? and you know that there can be only two relations between knower and knowable. One is realism, the other is idealism. So if I ask you what is realism, what will be your answer? Yes. अरे अब तक तो याद हो जाना चाहिए.
Knowable is independent of the knower.
Knowable is independent of the knower. So the knowable means object is independent for two things: for its existence as well as for its knowledge from the knower. Existence, the table in your room exists regardless of whether you see it or not. And secondly, the knowledge of the table exists regardless of you seeing it or not. So object exists or knowable exists independent of the knower, both for its existence as well as its knowledge. Okay. So these are the 5 questions we will be answering in today's class. Now, first question is, what is knowledge? UPSC ऐसे direct पूछ लेगी, what is knowledge according to Nyaya philosophy? Discuss their view in detail on perception as a valid source of knowledge. Okay. So what is knowledge? Knowledge is defined as apprehension or uplabdhi or consciousness, अनुभव. नॉलेज जो है या तो एक उपलब्धि है. उपलब्धि क्यों है? बिकॉज दिस नॉलेज इज लीडिंग टू सक्सेसफुल एक्टिविटी और अनसक्सेसफुल एक्टिविटी. Mind you, I'm not saying about right knowledge right now. I'm just saying about knowledge. So therefore, just a second, I think the screen disappeared. Is the screen visible?
Oh, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it visible now? Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So knowledge is either apprehension, you apprehend something, or consciousness, anubhav. So when you are talking of consciousness or anubhav, it is including even inference. Inference में a lot of things is happening in your mind. It is inferred. There is some kind of अनुभव. अगर हिंदी में आप समझे तो अनुभव मतलब क्या है? एक्सपीरियंस, है ना. तो जैसे आपसे मान लीजिए कोई पूछे कि भाई यूपीएससी की तैयारी में जो है मैं पहले सी सेट को जो है लास्ट के 5 दिनों में करूंगा, तो आप उसको देंगे कि भाई लास्ट के 5 दिनों में करोगे तो आप जो है यूपीएससी फेल करने की तैयारी हो कर रहे हैं. लास्ट के 5 दिन का मतलब जो है दैट यू विल फेल. आई एम टेलिंग दिस फ्रॉम अनुभव. यस और नो? यही तो कहेंगे ना कि मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस, अनुभव से बता रहा हूँ या बता रही हूँ. सो योर नॉलेज इज बेस्ड ऑन अनुभव. तो सी, न्याय हैव मेड श्योर दैट परसेप्शन जैसा भी नॉलेज आ जाए, कंपैरिजन जैसा भी नॉलेज आ जाए, शब्द जैसा भी नॉलेज आ जाए, लेकिन इन्फ्रेंस जैसा नॉलेज भी आ जाए. एक और एग्जांपल आपको समझाते हैं अनुभव के लिए. मान लीजिए कि मैं ये क्लास फ्रेंच में पढ़ाऊं, ये फिलोसफी आपको फ्रेंच में पढ़ाऊं. विल इट मेक सेंस टू यू? यस. नो. Why? Because you are not aware of the language. So you will not be able to apprehend what I am saying. Second, if I am teaching in Hindi to a person who is in coma, then that person is not getting knowledge because consciousness is not there. So knowledge apprehension हो गया when you are apprehending, or it is अनुभव according to न्याय. इन्होंने एक एग्जाम्पल दिया है, the example of a lamp. Just as a lamp reveals any object presented to it, similarly knowledge reveals both the subject and object distinct from itself. Knowledge एक तरह से एक illuminating light है. It illuminates both the object as well as the subject. Okay, so this is the first question. What is knowledge? This is done. Now different kinds of knowledge. Now knowledge is divided into anubhav or presentative knowledge and smriti or representative knowledge. अनुभव वो आपके सामने हो रहा है. स्मृति, it is in your mind from past experiences. अब दोनों में फर्क क्या है? स्मृति जो है या आपकी जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नॉलेज है, that may not always be accurate or correct representation. क्योंकि जब आप मान लीजिए, Shaiva, I ask you what is the color of your school gate, what will be your answer? Black. But if I go today and see your school gate, is it necessary that it will be black?
No.
No, because you are telling from smriti or memory. Today its reality by perception may be different. Yes. So therefore smriti or memory or representative knowledge is not considered as valid knowledge, or rather it is considered as invalid knowledge. तो ये knowledge को valid मानते हैं और invalid मानते हैं. Valid knowledge is called prama and source of valid knowledge is called pramana. नॉन वैलिड नॉलेज में देखिए क्या क्या लिखा है, डाउट, एरर और तर्क. आज की जो क्लास की वीडियो का नाम है दैट इज फ्रॉम तर्क टू अपवर्ग, और फ्रॉम रीजनिंग टू लिबरेशन, और फ्रॉम लॉजिक टू लिबरेशन. वी विल सी दैट न्याय यूज तर्क इन डिफेंस ऑफ व्याप्ति, लेकिन वो तर्क को नॉलेज का स्टेटस या वैलिड नॉलेज नहीं मानते हैं. They call तर्क as hypothetical reasoning. अगर ऐसा हुआ तो क्या होगा? So why doubt is not a valid knowledge? Because doubt is obviously not certain knowledge. Why error is not a valid knowledge? Because error is misapprehension. It does not correspond to real objects. और हम न्याय में पढ़ेंगे that their theory of error is called अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद. अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद. So what is presented is not perceived. Instead, what is represented is perceived. जैसे shell is perceived as silver. आपके सामने क्या प्रेजेंटेड है? सेल, बट इट इज नॉट परसीव्ड एज शेल. आपके मेमोरी में क्या है? सिल्वर. इट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड, बट सिल्वर इज नॉट प्रेजेंट, इट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड थ्रू द सेल. या रोप और स्नेक का भी एग्जांपल ले सकते हैं आप. रोप एज स्नेक. आपके सामने क्या है? रोप, लेकिन आपने उसको मिस्टेक क्या कर लिया? स्नेक. सो व्हाट इज प्रेजेंटेड इज मिस्टेकन फॉर व्हाट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड. यही इनकी थ्योरी ऑफ एरर है, अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद. समथिंग इज प्रेजेंट एल्सवेयर अगर इसको मैं एक लाइन में अंग्रेजी के लिखना चाहूं अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद को, तो समथिंग इज प्रेजेंटेड एल्सवेयर, समथिंग इज विच नहीं सॉरी समथिंग इज प्रेजेंट एल्सवेयर but is represented, sorry, my mistake, but is represented elsewise. Something is presented elsewhere, represented elsewise. Silver is present elsewhere, it is shell is represented elsewise. इसी को कहते हैं अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद. इसको बहुत डिटेल में हम मीमांसा फिलोसफी में पढ़ेंगे. इनफैक्ट इन मीमांसा स्कूल, at the end of मीमांसा we will study all theory of errors. सारे जनरली एक ही दो थ्योरी ऑफ एरर पूछा जाता है. न्याय अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद पूछ दिया जाएगा, या फिर प्रभाकर का अख्यातिवाद पूछ लिया जाएगा, या फिर कुमारिल का विपरीत ख्यातिवाद पूछ लिया जाएगा, या वेरी फेमस अनिर्वचनीय ख्यातिवाद ऑफ अद्वैत. बट वी विल डू सद असद ख्यातिवाद, आत्म ख्यातिवाद, सारा बुद्धिज्म का, सांख्य का, सबके जो थ्योरी ऑफ एरर हैं हम सब एक जगह इकट्ठा पढ़ लेंगे इन मीमांसा फिलोसफी. बट दिस इज व्हाट वी विल स्टडी देयर. अन्यथा ख्यातिवाद ऑफ न्याय, दिस इज देयर थ्योरी ऑफ एरर. ओके, नाउ they also say that तर्क is also not valid, जबकि वो खुद तर्क का यूज करते हैं फॉर वैलिडिटी ऑफ इन्फरेंस और फॉर वैलिडिटी ऑफ व्याप्ति. नाउ माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज व्हाई तर्क इज नॉट अ वैलिड नॉलेज? यस गौरी. अमिता. Shevya. Why Tark is not a valid knowledge?
So maybe because it is subjective.
Because it is
Subjective. It can differ from person to person.
Tark is subjective. When do you give Tark? When do you give logic? As a supplementary proof or as the main proof?
Supplementary proof.
So something is supplementary in nature and therefore it cannot be a valid proof or valid prama. So it is not real knowledge, only used as a proof. For example, we will see that in Vyapti, they use Tark. To prove where there is smoke, there is fire, we use Tark. कैसे यूज करेंगे? हम बोलेंगे कि चलो मान लेते हैं कि where there is smoke, there is no fire. So अगर हम ऐसा कहें कि smoke है लेकिन fire नहीं है, does it violate the theory of causation? That effect can be present without a cause? Yes or no? To say that there is a smoke without a fire, is it not a violation of theory of causation, law of causation? Every effect must have a cause. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So इसी को कहते हैं तर्क. Okay. Now, so we have answered the second question. What are the different kinds of knowledge? One is अनुभव or presentative knowledge. Second is smriti or representative knowledge. They have also classified knowledge as valid and invalid. Invalid knowledge में doubt है, error है और तर्क है. Valid knowledges में क्या है फिर? Valid knowledges में perception है, inference है, उपमान है और शब्द है. परसेप्शन में भी यहाँ पर एक मैंने छोटा सा टेबल दे दिया ताकि आपको याद रहे, क्योंकि बहुत लंबी फिलोसफी है। सो आपको याद रहेगा, परसेप्शन में हम सबसे पहले गौतमा का डेफिनेशन देखेंगे, एंड वी विल फाइंड दैट गौतमा's डेफिनेशन इज वेरी वेरी एक्सक्लूशनरी। उसमें कई कई सारी चीजें एक्सक्लूड हो जाती हैं, इसलिए विश्वनाथ उसको मॉडिफाई करते हैं। विश्वनाथ इज अ लेटर न्यायिक फिलोसोफर। ओके, देन दे गिव ऑर्डिनरी वर्सेस एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी परसेप्शन, और लौकिक वर्सेस अलौकिक। और हम देखेंगे कि उनके अलौकिक परसेप्शन का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है। अलौकिक के तीन वो हैं: सामान्य लक्षण, सामान्य लक्षण परसेप्शन, you can see the generality, you can see the cowness, you can see the manness. It will solve the problem of illicit generalization in inference, because you can see the samanya or general character. Then there is gyan lakshan perception. It accounts for error in perception. For example, sometimes when you see a rose, you can by seeing the rose you can get some kind of fragrance. या और आसानी से ऐसा उदाहरण देते हैं जो आपको अभी आजकल फेस्टिवल चल रहा है तो समझ भी आ जाएगा। आप अगर रसगुल्ला देखते हैं तो आपके मुंह में क्या आ जाता है? यस, गुलाब जामुन, रसगुल्ला, इमरती, जो भी आपका फेवरेट, काजू कतली, एक्सेप्ट सोन पापड़ी। आई थिंक इट इज द मोस्ट abused sweet of India, no? Especially during Diwali. One which everybody has and nobody wants. So, Shevya, when you like you like sweets or you don't like sweets?
Not as such.
Not as such. Okay. Then pani puri, वो तो ठीक है ना? That will be universal.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So when you see pani puri, when you are passing on old Rajendra Nagar street and pani puri wala is making people eat, what happens to your mouth?
It starts watering.
Yes. But watering can only happen because of taste, not by perception. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just give me 1 second. So Gyan Lakshan perception is basically accounting for why you sometimes have error in your perceptual knowledge. Why? Because sometimes you are getting perceptual knowledge of one source from another. For example, when you see ice, you can feel it is cold. You don't actually touch it, you know it is cold. But to say that I can see the cold ice, it is wrong knowledge. But Nyaya says this is not wrong knowledge, this is Gyan Lakshan perception. It is a kind of confused perceptual knowledge. You are having perception from the wrong sense organ. And finally, there is Yogaj perception. Yogaj perception is basically the perceptual knowledge of the rishis who can see past, present, future, something like telepathy, something like Kaivalya Gyan, etc. So they account for even that is possible. Why? Because there is also Yogaj perception. Okay. So in perception, we will be studying all this. There will also be a comparison with Kant. Because Kant also says knowledge begins with senses, proceeds to understanding. Just like in Nyaya, there will be something called Savikalp or Nirvikalp. Nirvikalp is indeterminate. And Savikalp is determinate. Then inference. This is knowledge based on previous knowledge. Inference is knowledge based on previous knowledge. It is in Hindi called as Anuman. Anu is prior and man is valid source of knowledge. So knowledge which is based on some prior knowledge. That prior knowledge can be of two types. One is Vyapti, the other is Paksh Dharmatma. Paksh Dharmata. Vyapti, it is the relation between the middle term and major term. For example, where there is smoke, there is fire. So fire is the major term, smoke is the middle term. So Vyapti is what kind of knowledge? Knowledge of the relation between middle term and major term, or it is the concomitant relation. We will discuss in detail about Vyapti in Indian philosophy. This will be the basis of deductive reasoning, or how they solve the problem of deductive reasoning, and how they solve the problem of illicit generalization also. तो इलिसिट जनरलाइजेशन की दो तरीके से प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हैं, एक सामान्य लक्षण परसेप्शन से और व्याप्ति को प्रूव करने में दे विल बी यूजिंग समथिंग कॉल्ड उदाहरण और एग्जाम्पल. So this category of udharan in Nyaya was not conceptualized by Western philosophy, such a simple category. Okay, so we will be discussing about Vyapti and Paksh Dharmatma and constituents of inference. Constituents of inference, that is Sadh, Hetu and Paksh. Lakshane Paksh. So that is minor term, major term and middle term. Then they will also go at length in establishing Vyapti, then the types of inference and fallacy of inference, Hetvabhas, where inference seems to be inference but is not actually inference. That is called as Hetwabhash. Then there is also Upaman, which is the third source of valid knowledge by them. It is knowledge of relation. And knowledge of relation, for example, you know a cow. You know what is a cow? You see a wild cow in the forest. When you see the wild cow in the forest, you are seeing it. That means you have perception. बट परसेप्शन से ये आपको पता नहीं लग पाएगा, क्योंकि परसेप्शन में तो आपके क्वेश्चन मार्क है कि ये क्या है, ये तो मैं पहली बार देख रहा हूं. तो आप क्या याद करेंगे कि हाँ भाई, मुझे किसी ने बताया था कि वाइल्ड का काऊ और गव्य जो है काऊ की तरह होता है, बस थोड़ा सा बड़ा होता है, उसकी साइज बड़ा होगा, उसका शेप ऐसा होगा, उसके सींग ऐसे होंगे. सो यू रिमेंबर दी वर्बल टेस्टिमनी नॉलेज. Then you compare the wild cow to the cow and you infer that this is a wild cow. This knowledge is not by perception, because perception alone did not yield you the information. It is knowledge by comparison. You compared the wild cow to the cow, and then you arrived at that this is a wild cow. It looks like a cow, but it is not a cow. It is a wild cow. And यहाँ पर डिबेट होगा ऑब्वियसली मीमांसा के साथ. Mimamsa will be saying something else, Nyaya will be saying something else. Plus on Upman, Charvak, Buddhism, Jainism, Vaisheshik, सबके views हम देखेंगे. इनफैक्ट चारवाक के व्यूज आप ऑलरेडी जानते हैं. दे डोंट एक्सेप्ट उपमान एज अ वैलिड सोर्स ऑफ नॉलेज. दे से दैट इट इज नथिंग बट परसेप्शन. नॉलेज ऑफ कंपैरिजन इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन परसेप्शन. ठीक है. देन देयर इज शब्द प्रमाण और स्टेटमेंट ऑफ ट्रस्टवर्दी पर्सन. So Supreme Court judgment. Which article of the Indian Constitution says that all judgments of the Supreme Court are binding on all courts and civil authorities in India? Yes. Anybody? चलिए गेस कीजिए. 120, 30, 35, 40, 41, 44. Yes. Anybody? Shevya?
So 141.
141.
41.
So there are two articles that say, one, Article 141, all laws of the Supreme Court are applicable or valid on all courts, and 144 says all authorities, whether judicial or civic, will have to act in the aid of Supreme Court. So 141 and 144, all of them are having statement of trust. Okay. So here it would also require understanding the meaning of the words. अब यही अगर फ्रांस का सुप्रीम कोर्ट कुछ कहता है तो वो हमारे लिए वैलिड नहीं होगा, क्योंकि वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड्स, इट हैज नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेसिस, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. Okay, and they have also, there will again be a debate with Mimamsa, and they have said that condition for a meaningful sentence is akanksha, yogyata, sanidhi and tatpare. These are the 4 conditions that the words in a sentence should fulfill for it to be meaningful. मान लीजिए कि मैं आपको कहूं cow, dog, ant, एक ये sentence है, is it having any meaning? Yes. Cow, dog, ant, is it having any meaning, this sentence? No, because there is no akanksha. The words are not having any expectation from each other. There should be mutual expectation. So cow, dog and ant live in a farm, or cow is an animal, dog is an animal, ant is an animal. There is mutual expectation in the words to make the sentence meaningful. That is called akanksha. Yogyata, they should be qualified. For example, if I say, bring me petrol to, or rather, if I say, bring me petrol to douse the fire, will this sentence be meaningful? कि आग को बुझाना है, तेल लेके आइए. If I say, आग को बुझाना है, पेट्रोल लेके आइए, will this sentence be meaningful? No, because it is not having yogyata, qualification. Sanidhi, proximity होना चाहिए. I say something today, study. Then tomorrow I say 2 hours. Day after tomorrow I say GS1. Day after that I say polity. So it won't have any meaning to you because they are spoken at such a long gap. The sentence, the words should be in proximity for them to be meaningful. And tatpar, they should be able to represent the correct meaning or the correct context. जैसे न्याय एक एग्जांपल देते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि सैंधव लेके आइए, ब्रिंग सैंधव. सैंधव के 2 मीनिंग हो सकते हैं, नमक भी हो सकता है और घोड़ा भी हो सकता है. बट अगर न्याय खाना खा रहे हैं तो आप किसको लेके आएंगे? If the Nyaya philosopher is eating and asks to bring sandhav, what will you bring? Horse. चलिए निकलिए, हो गया, ज्यादा खा लिया आपने. So obviously you will bring salt because that word sandhav has a context. He is eating, so would want salt. So ये है इनका शब्द प्रमाण. Okay. Then this is the third question that we have answered. What are the sources of valid knowledge? Now come to the validity of knowledge. And एक सेंटेंस में पूरी कहानी हो जाएगी. Regarding nature of truth, Nyaya is realistic, and regarding test of truth, they are pragmatic. Nature of truth में correspondence theory. Object should correspond to the knowledge. For example, if I say orange is circular, this is knowledge. When you see an orange and it is circular, the object is corresponding to the knowledge. There is a kind of correspondence or one-to-one relation. Okay. Then, with respect to test of truth, they are pragmatic. They will always be testing. So, knowledge should correspond to its object, and valid knowledge corresponds to its successful activity or yatharth. Like I gave the example at the start of the class, if I teach you, its yatharth will be that you get 300 plus. So invalid knowledge does not correspond to object and leads to failure. So Nyaya accept Parta Pramanyavad and Parta Apramanyavad. That is, knowledge intrinsically is only a manifestation. Question of validity or invalidity is a subsequent question that arises extrinsically. आप यहाँ पे सिर्फ पढ़ रहे हैं, ये जब आपको जब मेंस लिखने को मिलेगा और वहां पर आप लिखेंगे प्लस आपको फिर मार्क्स मिलेगा, तो आप डिसाइड कर पाएंगे कि whether the knowledge was valid or not valid. So truth or falsity is extrinsic. Partah pramanyavad, partah pramanyavad. Again, this will be in detail discussed in Mimamsa philosophy. Mimamsa का बहुत famous question है with respect to validity of knowledge. Swatah pramanyavad, their comparison is with Nyaya. And then we will be asking UPSC में एक PYQ आया कि किसकी theory better है. Okay. So conclusion में correspondence is the content, successful activity is the test of truth in Nyaya philosophy. Finally, the last question, we have answered the fourth question also. That is validity of knowledge. Finally, the relation between knower and knowable. So relation between knower and knowable, the Nyaya accept logical realism. In philosophy, realism means a doctrine that existence of a thing or object is independent of all knowable or relations to the mind. या जो मैंने आपको साधारण शब्दों में बताया, an object for its existence and its knowledge is independent of the knower or mind. Knowledge is not a creation but only a discovery. Idealism, on the other hand, holds that things can exist only as they are in some mind. अगर मैं इसमें आपको बर्कले के हिसाब से पूछूं तो क्या कहेंगे आप यहाँ पे? Essayist, perceive. To be is to be perceived. So न्याय ऐसा नहीं कहता है. न्याय कहते हैं कि न्याय is realistic philosophy because insofar as it holds that objects of the world have independent, not undetected, independent existence of their own apart from all knowledge of it. Okay. But this is based on logical ground, not faith, intuition, etc. They give logical grounds for this independent existence of knowledge. And finally, the last question, liberation is attained through right knowledge of reality, but this right knowledge presupposes what knowledge is, what are its sources, how to distinguish between true and false knowledge. Hence, Nyaya's metaphysics presupposes epistemology. Its theory of reality is based on logical grounds of epistemology. Okay. Criticism we will be seeing in Mimamsa philosophy. They will say third man fallacy. Whenever you want to check the knowledge, you will be using another knowledge. जैसे मैंने कहा कि I am a very good bowler. I can bowl even Dhoni. So you will have to bring Dhoni. Then between Dhoni and me, there will be a new relation. So there will always be a third man fallacy. Okay. So that is all the that is first part of our Nyaya class where we have answered all the 5 questions. What are the 5 questions that we began with? What is knowledge? Different kinds of knowledge, sources of knowledge, validity of knowledge, and the relation between knower and knowable. Is this understood? Yes.
So,
Everyone?
Yes.
So tomorrow's class, we will be doing perception. And as you know, in perception, first we will be doing Gautama's definition, then the problem with this definition, then Vishwanath's modification. Then once we have done that, the classification of perception as Savikalp and Nirvikalp, then classification based on ordinary as well as extraordinary, or Lokik and Alokik. In Alokik, we will study the three types: Samanya Lakshan, Gyan Lakshan, and Yogaj perception, along with the implication or application in their philosophy for all the three. Okay, so that will complete our perception, and tomorrow itself we will be starting with inference. We will be completing one part: what is inference, what are the constituents of inference and grounds of inference. We may not be able to do Vyapti or how do they justify Vyapti, but we will complete till here. In next class we will be doing Vyapti, what are the proofs or Nyaya's 5 steps to establish Vyapti. Then we will be doing the fallacies of inference or Hitvabhash, what are the 5 fallacies in inference. Inference will be completed in next class, and then one class will be taking for Upaman and verbal testimony. In the same class we will be discussing about the Nyaya's conception of God. Okay, Nyaya is known for proofs for God. There are 10 proofs. We will discuss all the 10 proofs in detail, and that would complete our Nyaya philosophy. So 3 more classes we will be, or 2.5 classes, we will be completing Nyaya and moving to Vaisheshik. So tomorrow at the same time, we will be doing perception of Nyaya as well as basics of inference. That is, what is inference, what are the constituents of inference, what are the grounds of inference, that is Vyapti and Paksh Dharmatma. We will also be doing the 3 terms of inference, that is the middle term, the minor term and major term, or Hetu, Paksh and Sadhya. Okay, so any doubt in today's class, please ask. Otherwise, that is all from my side. Okay, so that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.